Hello, it's Rachel from Writeside Blonde.
Hi, Mark. Hi, everybody.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Yeah, I decided to do this one on Zoom today because I look a bit rough and Zoom makes me look a bit nicer.
I do appreciate the filter. I'm sure when people meet me in person, they're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, you look 10 years older than than you do on Zoom." But
Have you actually met anybody in person from all of this? Oh dear, frozen already. It's a good start. We've got gremlins already. Hmm.
oh,
Oh, you're
there you
back.
are.
You're
Sorry, I
back.
froze for a second.
You did. You froze like this.
I I was like I told you, the internet kind of shifts in and out, and so it just decided to shift over. So hopefully it doesn't do that again.
Well, look, it's a real pleasure to meet you, and thank you for agreeing to have a chat with me because you've been. I watched one of your videos. Obviously, I saw you through Tom Numbers originally, but I watched some of your videos recently, and there was one that you put up about going from being a liberal graduate kind of at college, and then it's slowly dawning on you that actually that's not actually that clever an idea anymore, and then transitioning. And I thought that was really interesting because I was the same. I was a socialist in my 20s. Thought, it was the right thing to be. Because I wanted equality, I wanted fair wages, all these good things that they trap you with.
Yep, yep.
And then, of course, Donald Trump stood for the Republican Party, which was like, for me, for years. And,
Yeah.
because it's like this right-wing party. But things have changed so much in terms of our definitions of politics and politicians. And I've lost so many friends who said to me, because I did poetry about Donald Trump and stuff, and they were like, "You're going down a very dangerous path, Mark." That's what they were saying to me. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. And it's actually not that easy to support a president when a big group of people really believe everything they read in the papers about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually scary how dangerous it is. I've had people, 2 years ago, people on Facebook that were like, if you support Donald Trump, just defriend me right now. And I'm like, I've never seen this level of division amongst, people that I love. And I'm like, I still love these people very much, but and I look at them like, you just don't know what you just said. You just don't understand. And, I'm trying to give them grace, but it is really difficult. And when you are on this side, and you have been on the other side, so you can kind of see where they're coming from. You can kind of get inside their mind and see, okay, I can see why you think that, but you're wrong. So we're over here trying to educate you. I remember I tried to have a conversation with a family member that I have looked up to my entire life about something very sensitive, probably the worst aspect of all of this, trying to wake her up to all of that. And she said, you're like losing it. You're a conspiracy theorist. And it was somebody that it was like a knife in the heart. It hurts so bad. I'm like, that's all you think I am? You don't think I'm educated? You don't think that I've done my research every single night, hours of research to make sure that what I'm thinking and with this path that I'm going down is actually the right path, the path of truth. And that's when I realized how dangerous this really is, because you can't just tell somebody. You think, oh, well, if that's true, then just tell them. You can't. There's just this wall up between you and your loved ones. So like you said, you lose friends. You still love them. You hope that someday they wake up and they come back to you and they say sorry, but you never know.
Yeah. It's been, what happened with me. I was living in Marrakesh, in Morocco, North Africa. And I was listening I think it was a podcast, actually. I was listening to in the car, and it was Donald Trump talking. And up to that point, I thought he was just another billionaire, playboy character. I didn't have a problem with him. I just thought it was, another guy entering politics, famous TV celebrity, blah, blah, blah. But then something hit me listening to him, and I had to pull over. And then I sat and really listened, and I was like, he's talking in code. Oh my God. And then I started really listening to him, and I was like, this is incredible. And I want to tell you this story, actually, because there was a woman that I did business with, quite a well-known Parisian lawyer who was in Morocco. And had a business meeting with her in this nice hotel, and we were talking about the election. It was 2016, and I sat there and I said, well, of course, we can't. I really hope Donald Trump wins, mainly because I don't want Hillary Clinton in. And she stood up and she went back about 20 yards against this glass window, and it was so weird. And she was inching her way along the glass, going, "What? You don't like Donald Trump? You can't like Hillary?" And I was like, I said, she's a satanic witch. She's murdered millions of people. She eats children. And it was, I got kicked out of a lot of parties, put it that way.
I just don't have the energy to go to a lot of parties anymore unless I know that this is the kind of conversation I can have. It's just so exhausting being so superficial, and I can do it, but I just prefer not to.
I had my last Trump conversation was when I went for a haircut last week, because the barber started telling me how much he didn't like him because he was pro-gun laws. And I said, have you heard of the Second Amendment? Do you know what that is actually for? And he was going on about the children in the school shooting. And I was like, oh, it's such an impossible subject when they pull that one out. What about all the children that have died from damage from this? There's a lot more of them. And I said, if they people really don't like it when you question, when you even hint at falsy flaggies.
Yeah, well, Tom calls it, what's the term from Matrix when Agent Smith comes out, if you bring up something all of a sudden, and that's kind of helped me like separate the person from the emotion inside of them. Like, I can still love you, but I don't like how you're acting right now, kind of thing. So yeah, you might think I'm crazy, but I really don't like that part of you, but I still love you as a person. So it's just, I'm trying to be careful. I don't want to, ruin relationships over this, because the goal is to come together.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
So what was your journey then? How did you, I know you went to college and stuff, and you were on the normal sort of American track, and then you had to try and find work, and I mean, the country's not what it was, is it?
No, I was the pretty much typical Midwestern all-American girl, homecoming queen, basketball star, went to play basketball in college on a full ride. So then I decided to get a master's degree. So I was going to go into journalism or exercise physiology. And my thinking at 18 years old, which isn't the best thinking, was like, well, I don't need a degree to write. I can just write if I want to write. So I went for exercise physiology. Currently not using it at all. I have a master's degree I'm not using, but luckily I was smart enough to get a scholarship in grad school too. So I'm not stupid. The people that think that, because I support Trump, I must be an idiot and uneducated. That's like, I mean, you could call me anything, but please don't call me uneducated. That's like the worst thing you could call me. So anyway, graduated, voted for Barack Obama, met him, just loved him, sang his praises to everybody I could think of, and just really fell for him. And then I graduated and I entered the real world, and I realized, okay, it was kind of a rough time in history. It was about 2008. There were no full-time jobs, especially in exercise physiology. That was kind of a luxury. Some people couldn't make their mortgages. So, no one's going to pay for a personal trainer or something like that kind of a service. So I started working just whatever job I could work. I worked in a daycare. I worked cleaning offices. I was a personal trainer, and I worked in a corporate setting too. So I had 4 different jobs, and I literally worked from 6 to 6 every day. And then on the weekends I would clean offices. So I'm glad I went through all of that, because it really helped me understand from that standpoint to where I am now, which is a successful businesswoman. I think everyone should have to go through a little bit of a struggle, so that when you are successful and you make it, you're thankful for all the hardships. And I think that's just the way life should be lived. Everyone should have to struggle a little bit, and everyone should have to work in a daycare too, by the way.
I heard you say that in a video.
Because when I worked there, I'm like, I can guarantee you the CEO of this company would not be able to last 5 seconds in this daycare. It teaches you patience, but it also teaches you how to be a good parent. And I think that's a whole nother subject, Mark. But I think we as parents aren't doing the best job. We're really coddling our kids, and it's like I said, that's a whole nother subject. 2012, there was a thing that happened, an event that happened at the end of 2012. think you know which one I'm talking about, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it really, I was like, wait a second, none of this makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
My logic meter was like, this doesn't make sense. And then I started noticing anything that went against the official narrative was taken down immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, that's crazy. So it really started for me. 2012 is when I started seeing, you know, how deep this really can go. But I really didn't have time for it. I had kids. I just got married. Like I was just busy, as all of us got. We get busy and we forget stuff and just live our lives. But you know, 2020 happened, and I think most of us pretty much saw what was happening then. Well, I shouldn't say pretty much all of us, because there's a whole slew of people that are still sleeping, but the people that were meant to wake up early woke up for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I kind of ended up here.
Yeah, it's an amazing process when you look back on it. And I don't know if you've found this, but as you said, a lot of people have to start. I mean, I struggled for years before I went into business and stuff. And I totally agree with all of that, because it teaches you a work ethic for one thing, but and also gives you gratitude when you're successful, because you remember. But
yes.
do you find, when you look back on your life and think, oh, that's why that happened. Now that's why that happened. Oh, now I understand why I did that. Now I understand why I did that, because it was all preparing us.
All the time, every time. It'll just hit me in the car. I'll be like, that's why that happened. Okay. Now it makes sense. It's been happening more lately too. I don't know if you've been getting these, I call them downloads, where you're just driving and all of a sudden something just pops in your head and it just clicks, and you know that that's what it was. That's what was meant to happen at that time.
Yep.
And even, I was just thinking, one just happened yesterday that, I don't know, I'm gonna try to say it without using the buzzwords, but the cell phone tracking for staying 6 feet apart from people. Mm-hmm. And then now with the new documentary by someone about, I'm try not to use
like horses, like a lot of horses.
Thank you, because you can't say that word either.
No, I know.
Yeah, you can't say that.
Donkeys.
And so because of that, you know, people are trying to discredit that documentary because of the way that he found it, but because of what was happened earlier, which is the 6 feet apart type thing, that totally throws that argument out the window. And so now I was like, oh, that's why they did that. When I saw that pop up on my phone, I'm like, are you kidding me? You're tracking me to see if I'm that far away from somebody who's tested. I was like, we are literally living in Big Brother. So, but now it makes sense. Yeah. There's a good instance of how that works out.
Yeah. It's a divine plan. And we've all had to come to terms with that. I mean, you know, when the insurrection happened, I think, you know, there were loads of people couldn't believe what had happened that day. Just couldn't believe it.
I watched it live.
So did I.
And I was like, this is not, there's like an old lady standing within the barrier, within the roped, you know, partition. And she's just taking a picture like she's just out like a tourist. Mm-hmm. So when they were saying that on the news, they're calling it the I word right away. I'm like, this is nothing. So it was shocking how there's no words for it. And then some of my children, my older children, one of the teachers at their school said they watched a video about how the I word was not as bad as the thing that happened in 2001 in September. They were saying that the I word was worse than that day in September. I don't even know how you can logically compare the two. And so I think people their brains are just completely shut off. I don't know.
I mean, I've kind of tried to explore this subject a lot. You know, a friend of mine the other day said there was, and I'm just proving it. What's the Amnesia Grid? Yeah. Right? That some of us just haven't been affected by, but everybody else has. And I think it's probably to do with the TV and the radio, and the phones and the internet. Because I remember, I don't know when this happened in the States, but in the UK, I think it was about 2008, 9, or 10. Tony Blair, the Prime Minister, oversaw the installation of these masts all over the UK. And it was for the digitization of the TV. And it was a couple of years later that I came home from work one day. I have 5 kids, you know, under the age of 6, and they were all sat down watching the TV. And I walked through and I walked past them twice, and they couldn't see me. And I was like, these kids are hypnotized, literally hypnotized. And that was it. I took the TV out. We've not watched it since. And then I had a big fight with the TV license. You don't know about TV licenses in the States, but in the UK, you have to pay a license fee just to have a television.
Wow, really?
You didn't know that, did you?
No, I did not. That's crazy.
And they threatened to put you.
Of this.
They threatened to put you into prison if you don't pay it.
Why would they? That's crazy.
Because they I mean, they literally get you to pay to be brainwashed.
Well, you guys have products of food over there that are the same product as what we have, but with like, you know, 75% less ingredients. I saw a TikTok by a gal who's like, I'm eating all the same foods. I'm in Germany now and I'm eating the same foods, Oreos, crackers, you know, and I've lost 12 pounds. I haven't changed anything. I'm like, I swear, this is why I have to run so hard every day.
I know. Well, last time I was in the States, well, I lived in the States for a bit, and I was there for about 9 months in Florida. I put on about, how do you say it in pounds? Stones, 14 stone. Yeah, 10, 20, about 50 pounds. I put on about 50 pounds in.
My gosh.
Because
I believe it.
I couldn't stop eating at Denny's. That was the thing.
Denny's, of all the places, man.
I know.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, the big. Anyway, could do the whole UK US thing for all day, but you know, the brainwashing, the hypnotism, I don't know what is actually causing it, but it's when it's the anger. That's what I've found really tough to cope with, is that, you know, and I've had sweet little old ladies in shops tell me that they hope that President Trump dies from the V word, and I'm like looking at them going, okay. It's just, I'm in the west of Ireland, you know. There are people here that know he's good, but most people hate him because they believe what the TV's telling them. Yeah,
I think a lot of people put their identity into their beliefs rather than keeping themselves out of what they believe, because your beliefs can change, but you as a person should remain semi the same. And I think that's the problem, is that people have put themselves into their beliefs, and so they haven't even realized that the parties have almost flip-flopped at this point, because we're the party of freedom now. And, you know, just speaking I'm generalizing here. Okay. We're the party of freedom now, and acceptance. And, you know, if you want to do this to be happy, then do it, as long as it doesn't hurt someone else. It's like flip-flopped. And I know people that it's like they don't even realize that their beliefs have changed. Yeah, if that makes sense.
It does. Does it surprise you? Because, you know, Tom, we've just met, but there are people, Charlie, there are people who are not from the States who are just as passionate about this war and this battle and this president.
I am so thankful for the internet, because if I didn't have Charlie Ward in the beginning, I watched Charlie Ward all the time when I was first really waking up. So it's kind of just crazy that I can just talk to him whenever I feel like it. I'm still like living in a dreamland right now that I'm even talking to you, Mark. So I'm just enjoying the ride. But if I didn't have those shows and those people to confirm what I was finding out too, and it wasn't that I was like just listening to what they said and then just digesting it. I would listen to what they said and be like, oh yeah, that's what I found too. Or I'm going to dig into that a little deeper and find out if that's true. So to have that was huge. And it did wake me up, because having people in the UK and Spain and all around the world know what was going on, but then seeing like people right next to me not getting it, it really, it's the most bizarre thing in the whole world.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre. But I'm thankful for the internet in this case, because it helps people. And I get messages and emails all the time saying, I'm so happy to know there's someone else in the Midwest that thinks like I do, even if it's just me. So it helps people feel less alone.
Oh no, it really does. And I when I started this, I got thousands of emails from people just telling me, please keep going. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You've saved my life, all of this kind of stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is actually a serious job. Because I never wanted to do this to be well known or anything. And then all these, and I'm writing poems about President Trump, and I'm a guy from England living in the west of Ireland, because this is nothing. Anybody watching this, the reason I want to bring this up is because, I realized this has nothing to do with politics a long time ago. And this is a spiritual war. And I was having all these spiritual experiences leading up to this time that have accelerated since then. And, when I went on Charlie Ward's show, it was quite funny actually, because I got invited on it when he had about 10,000 subscribers, and then it kept getting delayed. By the time I went on it, he had about 120,000 subscribers. So it was good. That was before the YouTube channel got taken down. But the spiritual aspects of this, when did you start realizing that?
Yeah, so I started seeing 47s everywhere, 4s and 7s everywhere, and I thought I was crazy. This whole thing, I thought I was crazy the whole time. So if anyone wants to call me crazy, go ahead. I already called myself that 1,000 times, but I saw the 4s and 7s. 2020 was kind of a wow, this is what's going on in the world. And then 2021, I really started getting the numbers started coming to me, and I didn't know anything, didn't know what they meant, nothing. And then randomly I started watching Tom Numbers. So again, it's weird that I can just talk to him anytime I want to, because he's the one who introduced me to gematria. And I found out after the first show of watching Tom, I was like, I wonder what Rachel is in gematria. Oh, it's 47, which is why I don't know if you can see that. That's what the 47 behind me is, because that kind of was the beginning of everything. But yeah, then the numbers that, like you said, that they're coming in stronger now. I see them all the time. And now that I have more of a database with gematria, I feel like I can get more messages because I know what they mean now. So
it's funny because Tom and I were talking a couple of weeks ago about how some of us have these gifts, shall we call them, right? And the numerology came to him, the poetry came to me, and loads of different people have all these different sort of I don't know, things to put on the table that help a section of the people that need the help. Not everybody likes watching poetry videos, and not everybody likes the numbers, but you start as a team. It's been quite amazing to be part of that. And it's quite funny for us Brits being called patriots because we're not from America, but that word, because we don't really use that word, but it's it feels like we're honorary patriots because we're trying to help and do as much as we can anyway. And that's what you've been doing. But so you went through this transformation in this process, and then you said to me before you started out as a blogger. Is that how you started to?
Well, that was my
original felt the need,
plan.
but you felt the need to start talking about it, is what I mean.
Yeah. Late 2020, I was like, oh, I'm going to do a blog, but I was just too scared. I was too fearful, and then I met Tom in
Is it this one?
Yep. That's it.
Cool.
You got it. So I was originally just going to do a blog, not really post anything about myself, and probably not even put my name out there. And then I met Tom, and he pulled me out of my shell. And so here I am. Everybody gets to see me. But my passion is writing. I've always loved writing. Ever since the first grade, I've been writing stories, funny stories and poetry. Because of you, Mark, I pulled out my poetry journal that I've had in college, and I've been reading through it. They're not bad, actually. I'm kind of, you look back and you think, oh, these are going to be funny. They're going to be juvenile, but they're actually pretty good.
Of course they are. Of course they're good. I was just looking around. I'm just going to find a book to show you. Wait 1 second.
Okay. My handwriting used to be a lot better too. Just putting that out there. Back when I would write, now it's chicken scratches.
Like this is see this?
Yep. Oh, live. Okay.
That's me there.
Nice.
So no, when you said that, it reminded me because I was poetry was pouring out of me when I was at college, and I seen the film Dead Poet Society, and I was like, "Fuck that! Let's set up a live poet society." And I put these posters up saying, "Come out of the closet, take your poetry from under your bed, and come and share it." And when 25 people turned up in this meeting room, and we all started reading our poems out, and then we got published in a book, and then we went on tour.
That's
And
awesome.
and it was amazing. And yeah, and some of these people went on to be quite famous, actually.
That's amazing. I would be on I was a college athlete. You know, everyone's doing their homework and I'm over there writing poetry. So I've always just been really different.
Well,
Like,
that's
I don't know,
great. I think
describe it.
I think poetry and music comes through those that are connected to source, and that's really what I think has happened in this period. And it's been a real privilege to be part of. I mean, really, it's the greatest time in history, isn't it?
Oh, totally. I'm so thankful that I'm awake and can see it and enjoy it. Tom and I talk all the time about how there's so many people that are just missing it. They're missing what's happening. And I actually almost didn't even start my YouTube channel and my blog, because when I got home from Vegas, which is where, let's see, October of 2021. So it wasn't that long ago. I thought, well, it's kind of late. I mean, I'm kind of late to the game. Everybody already knows. And then I came back home and I was like, never mind. Nobody knows anything. It's the perfect time to start this because it's not going to change anytime soon. So I started it. And yeah, so I also do George collection videos. I have the entire, just recently, I just finished my George collection, and I just love it. I've learned so much. The cool thing about magazines is you can't erase them. They can't disappear. So there's all these stories and facts that are still in there. And there's people in there I've never heard of. So I'll be like, okay, who's this person? Go to look it up online and figure out how these people connect with each other. And so I've learned a ton. And
Well,
I think the best, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that the best part of all of this is that I was never really big into history. I mean, I would listen and I would get decent grades, but it wasn't my passion at all. And I think that's a blessing because I wasn't really paying attention deeply back then. And now it's like I'm learning the true history and the true, so it's not bad.
No, that is really, and that is one of my favorite parts of it. I'm having conversations with people about history every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I've been going to lots of sacred sites around this country because the true history of this country is completely different to what people think it is. And it's the same with the States. But let's talk about George for a minute, because there's a few things I heard about George, the magazine. So for anybody watching this who doesn't know, JFK Jr. was the publisher of this magazine. And there's a really famous clip of him on one of the late night talk shows in 1999, I think, where he's reading from George magazine, a poem, I think, about pizza by young Monica Lewinsky,
Mm-hmm.
which is very bloody
I've
strange.
seen that.
And I also heard that he called it George magazine because it was named after George H.W. Bush, because he knew that he was the one who ordered the execution of his father. And it was, and that magazine is full of clues, isn't it?
It really is. I have a video actually coming out today. I don't know when you're going to post this video, but today is Trump's birthday. So normally I post my videos Friday, but because of it's Trump's birthday, I did the Trump issue. I highlighted the Trump issue, and I had a major, major revelation. By the time you post this, my video will probably already be out, so people can go back and watch it on my channel if they want to. But I counted. People have been asking me, well, how many magazines are there total? And every time I look online, there's no like clear cut, oh, there's 70 magazines, or there were, 55. You just don't know. So I did what I did. I put the little spreadsheet together. I ordered them all, and then I counted them. And there were 57 total. That's what I got. Now I know that there's one month where there were two different covers. I think it was the August 2000 issue, which has JFK on the cover, and it says, "Who will make us proud again?" Trump always says, "We will make America proud again." That's a nod to that magazine cover, in my opinion. And last time, ironically, he said, "Proud, proud, proud." And he said it 3 times. And this is how it works. That whole week I've been seeing 222s everywhere. It's one day I saw it 3 different times, and it was every single day I saw 222. Proud is 74, 74, 74, which comes to 222. So I feel like he put that out there for me to get. I don't know. I know that's selfish, but that's what I felt like. So that August 2000 issue had 2 different covers. One had JFK and one had Ronald Reagan. The one I have is the JFK issue. So there might be 58 covers, but there were 57 publications that came out. George in Gematria is 57. So this is where it gets really weird. The 41st president was who you just mentioned earlier, George.
Read
George.
my lips. New World Order. I hate
Yes.
it. I hate that man. Ugh.
That guy.
Ugh.
The 41st issue of George was July 1999, when JFK's plane went down. And another major revelation I found out was that Trump's issue was the 47th issue. So Trump was the 45th president, and he's also said to be the 47th. And it seems like to me, this whole 47th president thing was never supposed to happen, right? He was just supposed to be 45th and then win, and then there would be he'd be the 45th and 46th or whatever, 45th, I guess. And the next person would be a different person for 46. This magazine makes me feel like him being 47 was always in the plan, because in the magazine it says, who needs the White House when you have Mar-a-Lago? That's something he says. In Gematria on the front, it says, Bush is smart enough, spelled ENUF. And in Gematria, that comes to the last president. So, and I'm just giving away everything in your show. It's okay, Mike.
Well, you know, we're very grateful.
And, yeah. And the George is written in Tiffany blue, which is totally a nod to the future inauguration and everything else surrounding it. So I think, in my opinion, this Trump issue is going to be even bigger than the Survival Guide to the Future issue, because it's basically calling that Trump would be the 47th president. And there's so many clues inside of it that point to that. So,
well, I'm getting all the truth bumps. Truth bumps, trumps.
And have you heard the term or the question, what's the purpose of a cover? Kind of a phrase or a question in the movement. People say, what is the purpose of a cover? I've heard other creators use it, and they say cover is in like a disguise for someone else, right? This just was one of those downloads. I'm like, what's the purpose of a cover? A magazine cover, a mega zine cover. Boom.
Yep.
Boom. It was
Drop the mic.
What's the purpose of a cover? Okay, now that makes us all want to look deeper at the George covers, because I think that's what it's talking. I think that's what it's speaking to. So
well, I think George magazine and the Adventures of Baron von Trump. If anybody's not read that, Ingersoll Lockwood series of books, 1890s, all about Baron von Trump, who looks extremely like Baron Trump, whose best mate Don becomes the last president.
Yep.
Time travel.
Yeah, which I believe exists. 2 years ago, I would have said, no, that's crazy. No.
I've always believed it exists.
Did you? I hadn't looked into it. See, it's just one of those things where if someone asked it, just like the alien talk 2 years ago, I would say, well, you can't disprove that, if you can't prove that they're not out there, then you can't disprove it. So yeah, what am I trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do.
If you can't prove they're not out there, then they could exist. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. Same thing with time travel.
Yeah. Well, I've seen so many ships, and I've seen a real proper spaceship right here.
I'm so jealous.
Well, it happened.
Did you were like telling them, like, show yourself, didn't you?
Well, the story is, I got an email from somebody saying they know that you look up every night. Next time, connect to a star, telepathically talk to it. I felt a bit of an idiot, but I did it. And what I got was, did you see that? And there was a flash of light. Then there was another flash of light. Did you see that? I said, yes. And then it said, are you scared? And I said, no. And then this beautiful light came along above the row of houses. And then the sky lit up, and it was this huge triangle, sort of
Wow.
rusty colored triangle covered in hieroglyphics. And then it just, that split second was the most beautiful split second of my life. I was just like, you're real. You're actually real. Oh my God. And then it just went like Star Trek.
Wow. So did it disappear or did it just fly away really fast?
It flew away so fast. Yeah. It just went,
Wow.
just like the Star Trek effects.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
I was just stood there going, okay, I'm not mad, but now everybody's going to think I'm madder because I've got to tell them.
That's exactly. It's like, you can just show yourself, because it's not like I could tell anybody anyway. No one would believe me. They would all think I'm crazy. So I would see it and I would just know in my heart that it's real. And then I probably wouldn't even try to tell anyone except for people like you, Mark, that are open to it, or Tom. But yeah, there's not many people that I could just be like, hey, guess what? I saw a UFO last night.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I've had quite a lot of incidences where there was one incident I had 11 witnesses, and we watched 30 plus bright white lights doing things in the sky that they couldn't do. Okay. And the next morning at breakfast, most of those people, I mean, I include my kids in that, but the grown-ups that were there just weren't interested at all. They watched it, but they didn't think of the implications of what they were seeing. And this is what amazes me. People don't think through the implications of anything. And I've learned a lot that people really don't listen, or it doesn't go in.
It's when you said that, I was just thinking of a book I'm reading to my son, Percy Jackson. I can't remember what the name of the book is, but it's crazy how much stuff is in books that's like, actually, that's kind of real. But they were talking about this mist that goes over humans, and humans only see what they can handle or what they want to see rather than the truth. I was like, that is so true.
I want to see everything though. That's always been my problem. I'm always in trouble for being too curious.
Yeah. When I was little, I asked my mom about the tooth fairy, and when she told me the truth, it was like so disappointing. So I hope that it's not like, I don't think it'll be like that this time when I search for the truth and then you find it and you're like, it's not going to be a downer thing. It's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then it just leads to more inquisition.
But it's when I was telling you earlier about when I first went on Charlie Ward's show, I had no idea what I was going to talk about. And the only reason that show happened is because I'd been on his Facebook page, and everybody was really scared and depressed and worried. And I wrote a post on a Facebook page that was saying, listen, this is my story. I've been waking up for 30 years, and this is what I know is, this was all planned and blah, blah, blah. But it's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. Right. And then it got 10,000 likes, and then they contacted me and said, oh, you've got to get on the show. And that was like, then I had to start the channel. But when I went on, when you're talking about the fact that if you told yourself 2 years ago that you'd be talking about time travel, aliens, blah, blah, blah. Well, I went on, and this story about demons trying to recruit me when I was a kid came out, which is a story I've never told publicly. And after the show, I was like, oh God, I'm finished. Nobody's going to want to do business with me. Oh shit, I'm finished. But I just got thousands of emails from people just saying, yeah, that happened to me. And I was like, oh, it's not just me. And that's been the wonderful thing about all of this, because all of these subjects are intertwined. Mm-hmm. The true history of the earth, Tartaria, UFOs, demons, AI, God, the devil, they're all parts of the same story, because we're in this incredible biblical moment in history.
Yeah, I know. I'm lucky that at least I had some background of like past lives, because I had a friend who's like, I need to tell you something. And apparently this person, he's pretty successful professional, and he doesn't meet with people just off the cuff like this. He's like, do you believe in past lives? And I was like, well, again, I can't disprove it. So I don't really know. I don't really have a thought about it, but I haven't really looked into it. And he's like, because I think I knew you in a past life. And I was like, and this person's like a very highly respected person in the community. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's he talking about? So then that really got me reading. I read pretty much every book by Dr. Brian Weiss about past lives. I went to a conference and met him, and So I had that going for me, and that resonated with me. It totally resonated. But it's crazy because it went against everything that I learned in religion. So it's like this really uncomfortable feeling, because you feel in your heart that it's true, it resonates with you, but yet it goes against everything you were ever taught. So then you feel crazy, even more crazy than you already do. And then trying to have a normal conversation with people.
This is the show header for my show. So the top of the YouTube channel. There's at least 2 of my past lives on here. This is basically the inside of my head.
Okay, who is that? Who are they?
Victor Hugo over there, and Amelia Earhart.
Amelia Earhart, wow. So were you regressed, Mark, to find this out, or you were?
Well, it's not, I mean, I've done a few regressions, and also I was on with Tarot by Janine and Tom, and she was saying that I was a knight in Ireland, and I'd pissed off.
I think I saw that one.
I pissed off some high up people, and you hear these things, and I take them. I do take them with a pinch of salt, you know, because I can't prove any of this, you know. But I do feel a lot of it resonates with me, and it's important to talk about these things, because people watching this will, you know, I think everybody should go and get a past life regression done and just explore themselves, because all of this time, I call it spiritual quarantine, but it's really about finding out who we really are. And that's the real magic part of this, because we're eternal souls, right? Our spirits never die, but we've been here many, many times. Some of us have been around for millions of years, and I'm really looking forward to all that DNA activation so that we can access all the records and remember who we really are. That's what we're not supposed to immediately, because that's why. Have you ever read The Law of One?
I haven't. No.
You should get it. This is The Law of One.
Okay.
Right way up. And this is, have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. I have never read it, though.
So it's the Ra material. So this is all channeled. David Wilcock has done a huge amount of work with this over the last 30 years, and I'm very grateful for David's work. But I haven't read it all yet, but I do know certain aspects of it. Like when the third density was created, it was created specifically to be like a really tough training camp for souls that want to develop, and we all volunteered to come here to develop, to learn the things that we needed to learn to be able to become better and make all these wonderful mistakes and do all these stupid things that we all do in life. And part of that contract that we made is that we would have amnesia. We wouldn't remember who we were. So it's like it's just such a great. It's like being in the best game ever.
I know. I recently had, you know who Bev Trout is. She's a ufologist. We've had her on a couple times.
I was going to ask you, can you introduce her to me? I want to speak to her.
Oh, yeah. She's amazing. She's 93.
93?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I hope at 93, she's sharp as a tack. She's super sharp. She has a friend who is psychic, and her friend told her that I used to be a 1930s, a very prominent 1930s, 1940s journalist. And she said a name, and I went and just looked at this person. It was a man. I went and looked, and he played basketball too. He won a championship in basketball. I was like, oh my gosh, crazy. And I was going to go into journalism, but I chose not to, because my stupid 18-year-old brain thought, if I want to write, I can just write, which is true. I mean, bloggers don't need any sort of degree, and they're making bank. I mean, they just successful. They don't have to work another job. They just, survive off their blog. So it can be done. Yeah. So maybe intuitively I knew that at 18 years old. I don't know.
I'm sure you did. I mean, I was a journalist. I got headhunted to work at the Daily Telegraph, which is like the pure establishment in London. And I went down to London and I worked there for a bit. And what I learned was that journalism sucks, because not one of those this is 32 years ago. And the journalists that I were meeting, hardly any of what they wrote made it into the paper.
Wow.
Because it was all sub-edited.
So the the publisher would just say, no, we're not going to publish this because of XYZ, or
This is how it works. They turn up at about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. They do a couple of hours of writing. Then they go to the bar, get hammered, come back at about 4 o'clock, totally drunk, do a bit more of that. And then it all went to the sub-editors. And then the sub-editors would just make it fit the narrative that that paper had to have.
wow.
And that ended up with me. And then I ended up doing poetry and stand-up comedy. And then I wrote, I had a TV pilot made, a comedy show, which was me being a journalist, being a TV journalist, and making the opening titles to his new TV series. That was the setting. And in that, he murders an old woman in order to get onto the, and then he blackmails a politician, and then and he's just, it's all fake news. I called out fake news 25 years ago.
That's amazing.
On TV. That's why I never got a series. That and the fact
maybe,
that I'm not very funny.
Maybe that's why I never got into journalism, because that's what it would have been, and it would have just completely disenchanted me away from what I was meant to do. So
all the best journalists were depressed because they were so well paid they couldn't not do it. And that's how they get you.
They knew deep down they were not.
Well, it kills your soul, destroys your soul. These people on CNN and stuff, they're all CIA, aren't they? I mean,
certainly seems like it.
Yeah, I know.
Certainly seems like it. I mean, you see, I don't even watch the news anymore, to be honest. I hear about it from my husband, and I'm like, he gets worked up about stuff. I don't even know why you're watching that anymore. I mean, just stop. It was successful. Look what it did to you. It made you mad. It played on your emotions. That's the whole point of it. But he still watches it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the fact that I mean, that's one of the things about Trump I loved, the whole fake news thing, just genius. But it's all Project Looking Glass, right? The whole thing makes sense if you see it through that angle. And one of the things I really enjoyed was the press briefings throughout the beginning of the pandemic. I had to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning to watch those. But they're going to be looked back on by history as just some of the greatest. I mean, the communications, the comms, the code, it was just mind-blowing.
I know. That's why my birthday message to him, I was like, you did it your way. That's the coolest thing. He never sold out. He never even, I mean, back in 2000, I'm like, why can't you, or 2020, sorry. Why can't he just be a little nicer? Just to like try to, he was himself 100% through and through. And I've learned a lot from him on that front, because we've been programmed the last how many years to fit inside this little box, to not say certain things. And I'm still finding myself, I'm butting up against the edges of that box, trying to get out. Like, there are things that I want to do and want to say that I'm getting close. That box is about to burst. But he's taught us so much. He's given us courage, and he's just given us like the balls to be strong again. So I just appreciate it.
Well, that's why I did that slightly rude comedy birthday message that I put in the WhatsApp group. That only you seem to have liked it. I thought
I know. I wrote LOL, and then I'm like, oh geez, I hope he didn't think I was laughing at a serious one. I was laughing at the jokey one, but
yeah, you put that birthday message today. I'm gonna get this video up today because it's his birthday for another few hours, isn't it? Because it's midday for you there, is it?
Yeah, it's almost noon here.
Yeah. And thank you for putting that together. I was just explaining to the viewers that I'm going to put it up later, but there's a unedited version I'm going to put on BitChute and Rumble, and an edited version I'm going to put on YouTube. But it's a wonderful Tom's idea to pull together a bunch of people to just basically say happy birthday. And I was watching it before I spoke to Rachel, and I spontaneously burst into tears after Jetson White's bit. And I'd love to meet Jetson, actually. He's really nice.
He's awesome.
Yeah, and I've done some great work as well. And I love the diversity of the work. All the Patriot Street Fighter, he's brilliant. All of these guys are just doing amazing stuff, and the amount of shit they've had to take as well. It's just, which is all mirrors what Donald Trump's had to take.
I know. I have a theory that the more you're attacked, and the more heinous of things you're accused of, maybe you're actually like more truthful than just, you know, basically whatever I hear from the news, I flip it. And then I'm like, okay, so that's the truth. And then usually 6 months goes by and you realize, yep, that assessment was correct 6 months ago.
Well, that's become my standard line to people now. If the government tells you to do it or tells you anything, just do the complete opposite.
Seriously.
Because it's as simple as that. That's all you got to do. It's
You'll
life
survive
is that
if you
simple.
just don't listen.
Yeah.
Which is so counterintuitive, Mark, because, you know, I'm a rule follower. I was a good student. You know, I had very strict parents. So it's just like so counterintuitive to me to be that way. But it needs to be done. That's what the other side has done. They've trained, it's almost like they've trained their side to be that way. The disobedient, peaceful disobedience, I think is what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that it's okay.
Whenever I drop my kids off to school, I say things to them like, what are rules for? And then they go, to be broken. Good. Off you go. And don't trust anything that anybody says, including this.
Yeah, it's true. My son talks all the time, you know, when are you going to get to meet President Trump, Mom? I'm like, that would be like a dream come true, but it'd be amazing.
I would love to meet that man.
Someday.
I would love to meet that man.
I don't even know what I would do. I think I would just give him a hug. I don't even know if I could find the words to say what I could possibly say, what I would need to say.
I'd probably fall to pieces because I met one of my favorite bands. I met two of them at the back of a nightclub once, and I lost all my cool, and I just got down on my knees and kissed their shoes. So I'll probably do something like that.
So, Mark, you get a little starstruck, in other words.
Not anymore, but back then I was a country boy. I'd never met anybody famous. This was my favorite band. You know, I'd bought all their records, and but you know, I'm pretty cool now. I'm pretty chill.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think I've grown out of that, but I would love. There's loads of people I'd love to meet, and that's been the great thing about the last, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months, because I did the Charlie Ward event, right, and that was a 7-hour event, and I met all these people in one day, but it wasn't just the people that were on YouTube; it was the people in the audience, and that was the best part of it, because the 650 people in the room, the energy, you'd have loved it. The energy was off the charts. It was extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. And I want to come to America and meet more people, you know. Well,
if you do, let us know over here. We need to schedule. It'd be cool to schedule something over here sometime.
Yeah, well, the amount of people that have offered me their place to stay in the comments over the last 2 years is just off the charts. So it's probably about 1,000.
Free trip.
I've got 1,000 houses to stay at. Yeah, I'm just going to travel for the next 10 years and not pay any rent. Brilliant.
I'm sure they'd all buy your meals too. That you'd be totally fine. Just shower here, you know, stay. We'll feed you.
I'll have to publish a book of poetry and give them that as the rent. But and you should get your poetry out there.
I will. I did write one actually on my blog. There's one poem that I wrote out there that's currently out there, but the rest are I haven't written a lot of political poems like you have. Mine were more about like love and life and stuff like that back in college, back when I had time to be creative like that.
Well, make time, keep being creative, keep doing what you're doing. You're an American hero as far as I'm concerned, and you are, and you keep going. Don't hide your light under a bushel. Keep going. It's amazing. You're giving people strength, and this is what it's all about.
That's right. That's right.
It's been wonderful to speak to you. I have to go and do fatherly duties now, but lots of love, best of luck, and give my love to your family. And I'll hopefully speak to you again in the near future.
Sounds good, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
See you next time.